You're listening to episode 49 of Burning Brightly, Combating Imposter Syndrome. This is Burning Brightly, a podcast for Christian moms who are feeling called to build a business and share their light with the world. I'm Bonnie Wiscombe, a life coach, mom, and entrepreneur, and I'm honored to be your guide as you face this business building adventure full of highs, lows, and everything in between. This is where we help each other find the courage to shine. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something that seems to plague literally every person I talk to who is building a business at some point or another, usually very early in the journey, but sometimes it pops up at other unexpected moments as well in our journey of building businesses. And that is imposter syndrome. So as you can tell from the title, if you haven't heard of this before, it is feeling like an imposter, right? It's a syndrome, this concept of feeling like you don't belong, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like there's something wrong with you or that people are going to find you out for the fraud that you are, right? It's a very uncomfortable feeling that most of us are familiar with in one way or another. But when building a business, it becomes very problematic because we are literally selling something that we have created with our own minds, especially in content businesses, right? So I talk about this a lot with my clients and with pretty much any coach that I come across, because unlike a product business, we are selling our brains, our expertise. We're selling our knowledge, our experience, and our ability to package that up in a way that is understandable for others and is easy to digest. So there's a lot to feel like an imposter around. Unlike maybe someone who's building a product-based business, the value of their product might be called into question more than the value of their own selves or their own worth or their own expertise. But with content businesses, this comes up a lot. And we know content businesses are so great in so many ways that it means we have very low overhead and we're able to express ourselves creatively in an infinite number of ways. But it does mean imposter syndrome at some point or another. So the first thing we're going to do to combat this imposter syndrome, because if you are tuning into this episode, you likely have experienced it or expect to experience it at some point, we are going to first define what this looks like. All right. Experiencing imposter syndrome tends to look like pretending or feeling like we're pretending to be something that we're not. Anytime that we are doing or saying, behaving in some way that is not in keeping with our beliefs, it is uncomfortable. That's called cognitive dissonance, right? Where our brain believes one thing and our body and mouth reacts in a different way or behaves in a different way. And our brain will try to fix this dissonance by changing our behavior or changing our thoughts. So when we want to tell people we're an expert and we want to behave in the way an expert would by sharing our expertise with others, and yet we deep down don't really believe we are an expert, something is going to break and blow up in our business. Very often it looks like self-sabotage or stopping working on our business because we don't believe we can. We don't believe we're an expert enough. And we want to avoid this. All right. So what is expertise? Well, if you define it, the dictionary says it is an expert skill or knowledge, expertness or know-how. It doesn't say anything about credentials. It doesn't say anything about education. It doesn't say anything about certificates or external validators that tell us we're worthy or expert enough. Sometimes we like to see expertise as something that is given to us externally, that maybe our manager gave us a little sticker that said employee of the month, or maybe our clients told us just how wonderful that we are and gave us amazing testimonials and told all their friends. Or maybe academia, right? We have specific letters after our name, specific degrees or certificates. But in the end, expertise is simply skill and knowledge. Do you have the skill and knowledge to help someone? And if you are building a business, I guarantee you do. I actually guarantee every person on this planet has skill and knowledge that they can help someone else with. Literally every person on this planet. Some people have developed their skills and knowledge more than others. Some have them in very common fields. Some have them in less common fields. But just by virtue of the fact that you are human, you have experiences and you have talents and you have skills. And these come from, like I said, our own life experiences. They come from our education, both formal and informal. I'm a big fan of informal education, reading books and studies and learning from other experts, even if you're not going to college for it. It also comes from self-reflection and your own transformation. So most of the life coaches or content creators I know are creating a business to help other people get the transformation that they have already gone through. And this is such a powerful way to build a business because number one, you feel super passionate about it, right? If you have gone through a transformation, you probably want to tell the whole world about it. I did this thing. I overcame this fear. I conquered this insecurity. I did this other amazing thing. I learned this thing, and we want to share it because we feel so amazing after going through a transformation. And then naturally, we start to think, well, gosh, maybe I could tell other people about this. Maybe I could sell this information. Maybe I could sell coaching surrounding this transformation. And it's super powerful to be able to do this. But sometimes we don't think that just having a transformation is enough expertise. And at face value, maybe just the transformation itself is not. It depends on how much time, experience, education, self-reflection has gone into that transformation. But if you have worked on it for a while and you have had to do those things, you have had to have failures and successes and educate yourself and fall down and get back up again and self-reflect over and over and over again, the chances are very good you are full of the kind of skills and expertise that your potential clients need. Now, a friend brought up a concept to me the other day that was really fascinating to me. She said that she noticed that a lot of experts love to declare how expert they are at things. They'll tell you how much income they're making. They'll tell you about all their credentials. They'll tell you about all the clients they've had. And that there is a very real difference between declaring you're an expert in something and actually becoming an expert. And in my experience, you probably have seen this as well. When someone constantly has to declare their expertise, to me, that sets off a few alarm bells. It tells me that this person needs to brag or posture in some way to make up for some lack. And it might be that they're just making up for their own imposter syndrome, which is totally normal and expected and part of the human experience. But it might be because they're hiding some lack of skill or knowledge. So I just want to bring that up right now so that we all remember that we do not have to constantly advertise our expertise. Instead, we show our expertise through helping others and giving results ahead of time. That looks like sharing our experience with our transformation. It looks like sharing our skills for free as much as we can. It looks like putting content out there over and over and over and sharing it with passion so they understand that not only do you have skill and knowledge, you actually have a passion for this thing and you really want to help other people gain the same transformation. So that's kind of a warning to all of us to make sure that we don't focus so much on declaring what an expert we are to others and instead just become one, because the people that really connect with you, that see you for who you are going to want to work with you regardless of credentials or how much money you've made already. So let's talk about a few things that we can do to boost evidence for our brains that we are an expert and also to actually become more of an expert. The first one is to, like I said, give results ahead of time, do things for free if necessary, or for cheap. So if you are a coach, this looks like coaching people for free or for very affordably. That will help you really understand your audience, know what they need, and come up with some great content for the future because you're talking to people constantly. You'll become a better coach. We're also going to want to read lots of books, do lots of trainings. I'm a big fan of getting as much free knowledge as possible or inexpensive knowledge instead of paying for one or two really expensive programs, because all we're doing is paying another expert for their knowledge. We want to go out and get a lot of knowledge from a bunch of different people. We also want to rub shoulders with other experts. So dive into your industry, find out who the other experts are, learn from them, network with them, collaborate with them, make connections, and that will build your knowledge and expertise as well. And then continue talking to that audience. Even if you choose not to do coaching for free, just keep talking to them. Bring them on live videos or ask them to hop on a call with you and answer some questions. Really probe the pain points that your audience has and find out exactly what they're looking for. And then you can share how to solve them, right? You can give some of those results ahead of time, and it will also help you develop your own body of knowledge and your own program as you create a program or a course or whatever you're trying to sell. So this is what it looks like to become an expert. We're not going to waste time and money on telling people that we're an expert and sharing all our credentials and sharing just how wonderful we are, although that's not most of our problems. Most of the time, we're still trying to believe it ourselves. We're just going to start showing people what we know. Okay? A good way to look at this is many of us choose to go into a coaching or content business around something that everybody sees us as an expert on, right? Have you ever had a friend say, hey, can I take you out to lunch and pick your brain on XYZ? That XYZ is usually what we build our businesses around. It's the things that people see us as an expert on. So start asking yourself, what would I tell a friend if she asked me out to lunch? If she wanted to pick my brain about homeschooling, about organizing, about overcoming tech problems, about spending more frugally and saving better, about any number of these things that I'm an expert on, whatever you're building your business on. If she were to take me out to lunch, what would I tell her? How would I show her how to do this? What results would I help her get? What experiences of my own would I share with her? How could I encourage her and lift her up in a way that would help her succeed in the future? So that's all we're doing with these results ahead of time. We're creating downloads and courses and podcasts and blogs and anything we can to start showing our audience that we are the expert because we can help them find success. So here's a little caveat for those of you who might have imposter syndrome, but in a different sense, maybe almost reverse imposter syndrome. Some of us want to teach around something that we have always been good at, and we haven't necessarily struggled and seen a transformation or gotten better at it. So this is kind of reverse imposter syndrome because we feel like an imposter in that group, right? Everybody talks about their struggles and we can't relate because we haven't struggled like that. We've just always been good at it. So this is an important place where we learn to use the language of those who are struggling. So let's say, for example, I want to be a health coach. I want to help people learn to love vegetables and get in shape and stay trim. But maybe that's something I've never struggled with. Maybe I've always loved vegetables and I've always been trim. Then I am going to have to really do extra audience. I'm going to have to do extra market research and tapping into my audience and talking to them to learn the language that they use, to learn the exact problems that they have. We're going to have to learn to speak like them and talk about their pain points and then talk about realistic solutions. Just a quick example of this, I have a friend who is becoming a financial coach and she has never struggled with money. She's always been good at it. So she shared a piece of content she wanted to put out to her audience that talked about creating a great budget. And I told her, as someone who has always hated budgets, that for those of us who struggle with finances sometimes, budget might be a 4-letter word. And she acknowledged that, okay, a budget has always been fun for her, but for her ideal audience, it's not going to be. She's actually going to teach them how to make a budget and how to enjoy it, whereas that's something she's never struggled with. So just be aware that there is kind of the reverse of that, where you are the expert, but you don't yet quite know how your audience speaks. And that just comes with time. Now, remember, my friends, if these thoughts keep coming up about the imposter syndrome and that you're not good enough, you only have to be about 10% ahead of your clientele to start helping them. Really, truly, just a little bit ahead of them. If you are a fitness coach, you don't have to have a 6-pack to help people make progress. You do not have to have millions of dollars to help people save their own money. You don't have to have only perfect children to help with parenting tactics. We are all just walking along unique life journeys. And what we're doing as experts is simply extending our hand to somebody behind us and saying, come with me. Let me help you. Let me show you the way. It's a really beautiful way of looking at it. And it kind of helps to simmer down that imposter syndrome a little bit. But again, remember, these are thoughts that we are entertaining and we get to take control of those thoughts and change them if necessary. So remember to do your coaching and your mindset work around this. Common thoughts that cause a feeling of imposter syndrome are things like, I don't know anything about this. People aren't going to trust me. I don't have a degree. I'm not educated enough. I'm not experienced enough. I don't know how to use the technology, right? I could go on and on and on, but I'm not perfect in this yet. People are going to look at me and think, where does she get off telling me expertise? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So identify those thoughts, write them down, do some models on them, make some progress there. And then work on replacing them with very empowering, but also true thoughts like, I know enough. I know enough to help someone who's struggling in this. I would happily help a friend with this struggle. I have been there and I get it. People are suffering with this and need to know what I already know, thanks to my knowledge and experience. I can make the world a better place with the little expertise that I do have. And I'm always learning. Do you see how those thoughts just shift in this place of empowerment and understanding that I have enough and everything I need to get started and start changing some lives? So take a look at those thoughts, my friends. Let's kick imposter syndrome to the curb anytime it comes up now or even years down the road in our business and go out and change some lives. Are you ready to start or grow your dream business? Click the link in the show notes to download the free starter guide to building a business or to schedule a free coaching call with me. And if you loved this episode, don't forget to leave a review and share it with a friend who might be feeling the call to burn a little brighter.